Guten Tag, and welcome to the latest episode of You'll Never Talk Alone. I'm joined today by Will Caves and Andrew Ainsworth. I'm Alex Lebel. Fellas, how you doing?
Stop.
Guten Tag.
I don't know what that means. Is
It
that
means
like
hello
German?
in German.
Is that British?
9.
9.
Mm-hmm,
It's for me no summer.
mm-hmm.
I mean, really, we should be saying Auf Wiedersehen to Bayern as we crush them 3-1 today in the Champions League. Also, we beat Burnley 4-2 this weekend in the Premier League. We'll touch on that for a little bit. I know this game was very early in the morning on the weekend of daylight savings time coming back into place, so everybody's internal clocks was completely screwed up. Will, I know you had an interesting time trying to watch the match.
Mm-hmm. I slept through it, but I did rewatch it. But round one didn't go so well.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you because it felt like
but
6 a.m.
I was that confident in our victory that I was so unconcerned that I slept through it.
It sounds like someone isn't a real fan.
Right.
Yeah.
Only one of us has been to Anfield, Andrew. So
Yeah. So I don't even know why I invited you guys to talk.
But only two of us have been to St. Louis.
Well, that's fair too.
Game. So, what
meet
stadium is Bush?
The youth teams.
But I mean, all three of us have supported the local grassroots movement, so I think we can all agree on that.
You're right.
True.
Andrew, did you have as much trouble watching the game against Burnley?
I wouldn't say I had as much trouble. I would say I didn't have as much trouble staying awake to watch it. I had a lot of trouble just being interested when it felt like it was like 2:00 in the morning to me. I had been out the night before. I don't know. I watched the whole thing. It was Firmino being Firmino. It was Mane being Mane. It was a great game.
Yeah, it was English refs being English refs, allowing Tarkowski to mount Allison. So that's why Joseph is not on the pod today. He's still recovering from that. It was very uncomfortable for him. But I made plans to watch it at a friend's house to ensure that I woke up. And then I found out that my men's league game later that day was canceled. So then we just cracked open a nice crisp Coors Light at 8 a.m. Or no, I guess it was 7 a.m. So really, really delicious, really great way to wash down that victory. Some lovely goals. Nice to score some tap-ins. Because we don't really do that.
Firmino could have breathed on the ball, and it would have gone in the first goal.
Yeah, like that. We finally got a really, really easy goal. So I'm super happy about that. But goals that weren't necessarily as easy, but were probably much more satisfying, were against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. The Reds marching on to the last 8. Will, what about this match really stood out? How did we do this?
Well, we wanted it more. We just got up there and played ball, played hard, ran hard. Honestly, I've said this before. I'm so sick of playing like crap, and that the first half was so bad.
Yeah,
and it was so bad. I mean, we did some stuff right. Like we had some good looks, and you could kind of tell that Rafinha was out of his depth against Mane. But like the signs were there that we were going to get something from that game, but it was so bad. Our touch was terrible. Robertson got skint a couple of times. Hendo going off sucks. But second half, our touch wasn't that much better, but somehow we were at the same time. I was pumped. I mean, I'm happy anytime you beat Bayern Munich is a great time. But it was as is our custom. It was frustrating, and then ended up being all right by the end of it.
I think that sums it up perfectly. And Andrew, over the course of the 2 legs, I think I read the stat that Bayern only had 2 shots on target. So how do you think we adjusted our game, or did we adjust our game at all one game without Virgil, and this game with Virgil. And as Will mentioned, Andy Robertson looking mortal for once. And surprisingly, I mean, they got a lot of space on the flanks, but we really didn't let them shoot or look too dangerous apart from when they scored and that one that flashed across goal. So what did we do so well that kept them from looking good?
Yeah, I don't think Klopp is one to really change his game a whole lot between two legs, but having Virgil there does make all the difference, and you can see that with the assist and the goal today. But really, being able to spread them out wide, Gnabry had a lot of chances. He's an unbelievable player. He's really the first player, like you were saying earlier, that Andy has had just trouble with throughout 2 games straight. It's not just like a couple chances here and there. It's a lot of trouble throughout both legs. Really, I think the biggest difference between the first and the second leg is eventually they had to kind of open it up, and Mane was able to provide just like that one, 10 seconds of excellence to score the goal. And after they scored that goal, they really opened, or after Liverpool scored the goal, they really opened up. You saw it in the second half. I mean, that game was wide open. And really, to tell you the truth, I think the biggest difference, and I know this sounds like a fanboy, and I am one, but was Milner between the first and the second half. He could not take a touch. He couldn't pass the ball. He couldn't do anything in the first half. In the second half, he came out, and he was all over the pitch. He even, kicked a corner, and it didn't hit the first man.
Yeah.
So that was surprising, to say the least. But just having the midfield out there, being able to kind of get some space to run around, because Bayern's press was great in the first half, and they couldn't really operate that press the same way once they knew they had to go out and score. Gave Milner space that he needed. Tell you the truth, Genie didn't really play that well today, but Fabinho was able to slot in and provide some defensive cover. He was able to bring the ball forward. I mean, even if Genie wasn't very good at passing the ball today, he still was everywhere. You still saw him all over the field making mistakes. So, I mean, whether that's a good or a bad thing, he's there. You see the difference in distance run, and that unsurprisingly makes a big difference. So, between the first and the second leg, I think it's just Bayern had to go for it after Mane scored. We thought they would come out and go for it. They didn't really. They sat back, but once Mane scored, they had to, and it was a lot more open, a lot better game than we thought it would be from the beginning.
Yeah, the Genie looks like, I think I texted it to our match day thread, that Genie looked like he'd never even heard of the concept of a ball. Like he looks like a bad Pro Evo animation, just missing the ball constantly. I don't think he made solid contact with any of his passes, but he did get in the way a lot, which was helpful. So, Will, did you think that the Milner stepping up was the difference? Or did you see something else that really pushed our second half overboard?
I think our when Bayern are 1-0 up, they relaxed. They were pressing us really hard at the beginning, and we were. It was interesting because we were like, our forwards weren't giving their defense any time at all. But it was almost like Javi Martinez would step up, and Hummels even was playing almost like a defensive mid, and there were at times 4 and even 5 in our midfield just harassing constantly. The only time anybody got any space was really Trent, maybe only because Ribéry wasn't playing defense that much.
Yeah.
But they seemed everywhere for like the first 30 minutes. And really, I think once we survived that onslaught, yes, Milner had a big part to play, but I think, if if you go back, if any of our listeners or any of us go back and watch the game, you see like they're throwing their bodies just to intercept passes. They're sliding all over the place. They're jumping, going hard into tackles and stuff like that just to kind of assert themselves a little bit. And I think Milner was the embodiment of the spirit of not giving up, but I think our players were just kind of like, no, you can't. We're strong too. We're good too. Like you're Bayern Munich, but we're Liverpool, and we're not going to just let you roll over and let you have it. And so I don't know that any one player embodied it, but I guess Milner would be it if it was a person. But also, I'd like to give a shout. I love to rag on Joel Matip, but he played awesome tonight.
Oh yeah,
even the right, even the own goal. Which I mean, he like, what do you do?
Lewandowski was going to score.
It was going in. It was absolutely going in. But like he was all over the place. Even when we were up by 2 goals at least. He dove like at waist height, just diving header, just to knock the ball out for a corner kick. Like we were going to win the game. We were fine, and he's just still throwing his body around. I thought he played excellently today, and was probably just as much an embodiment of our perseverance as Milner was, I think.
Yeah, I agree. He was phenomenal, and it's not often you see a player of the caliber of Lewandowski shut down, but he didn't really have much of a sniff apart from the faint penalty shout, the nearly goal that Matip put in, and that cross from Gnabry that he missed. But he didn't really do much of anything apart from that. And fair play to Matip and Virgil, of course. And the relationship that Matip, Virgil, and Fabinho have really showed in the second half. Most of the first half, I guess the second half of the first half, was Fabinho warming up because he was just thrust on unexpectedly, and that really helped when they did have to change their tactics a little bit. They were still pressing, but he is our most press-resistant midfielder, I'd say. He can turn away from that pressure and stay composed and either combine or dribble out of it. So I think that really helped. Plus, Milner and Gini played in the middle, actually, in the second half, because in the first half they were just getting like so wide, and our formation was just kind of a ring around the rosy. So we definitely stepped up. And you could see how their changing play created spaces for Mane and Salah, because Salah was a passenger for a lot of the first half. Well, they were just on him so quickly, but then he got space and kept not passing and taking shots, which I get because he wants a goal, obviously. But it was nice to see him getting into space, but you can't talk about him without talking about the man of the moment. And Will, I'll let you start about him because I know I think he's your favorite player. But let's just talk about Sadio Mane. Like, how good has he been? How good was he today? Especially considering how earlier in the season we talked a lot about like what's wrong with Mane? Like, who is this guy? Did he get space jammed? And then he just reminded all of us, wow, yeah, he is really good.
He was phenomenal. I mean, I mentioned it earlier that Rafinha was out of his depth. I don't think that Mane has the game he has today. If Kimmich, Kimmich, not Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel had been playing. Kimmich, if Kimmich had been playing, it probably would have been a slightly different story. But we were able to abuse Rafinha, and it was very evident that they were worried about Mo. They were double teaming Mo pretty much constantly. And Bobby too, to an extent. They barely got a touch, but as he has shown us over and over and over and over again, Mane loves to just like kind of skirt right on the outside of the defender's periphery. He sneaks around. He goes behind people. His first goal, the touch was absurd, but like Neuer played that so terribly. Also, like, what is it? Well, this is not the Manuel Neuer of 3 years ago. Like, I don't know what's going on with him, but the Neuer that I used to watch all the time was phenomenal, and that was not who he got today. It was Ben Foster was out there today, but like that turn was incredible. His headed goal towards the end was just sublime. I mean, Salah's ball was perfect. The header was perfect. Like, he is so good right now. And I don't know if they just like decided at the beginning of the season, like, okay, Mo, like you're going to be good in November, December, and then you're going to fall off and I'm going to pick it up, January, February, March, like I don't, if they both could start firing, that would be preferable. But for right now, they're awesome. I mean, like I love watching Mane play. He's such a joy, and he just destroys people. It's hilarious.
Yeah, his movement for the first goal was just unreal. Like he was sneaking around the back post, then cut back to be onside, then cut inside. The touch was ridiculous. The finish was composed. His left foot, and just it's hard to get much better than that. And if there's one player that you could talk about that did have just as good, if not a better match, is Virgil Van Dijk. I mean, he's completely transformed the team. And Andrew, he scored off a set piece, which, as one of our followers pointed out, we are up in the charts for set piece goals, but they were all very front loaded. We did a lot of that at the early part of the season. And it seems like we hadn't done it in a while, but Neuer called it. He said Van Dijk was dangerous on set piece. So Andrew, how great is Virgil Van Dijk?
I just want to ask you one question. When was the last time that Virgil van Dijk had a bad game?
When he played for Southampton, I'm guessing.
Name one single time. He is the best defender in the world. He has not had a bad game for Liverpool ever. And it's not like he has it might just be like a mediocre game. It's like every game is the best game that he's played. I mean, when was the last time he lost an aerial duel? It hasn't been for 2 months. And it's not like he's playing scrubs. He's playing Bayern Munich. They're a team that's known to have large players. They're German. He's not supposed to win all his aerial duels against those teams, but he does it so effortlessly. It looks like he just doesn't care, and he's out there dominating everyone. And if it seems like something goes past him, it's obviously not his fault, and he knows it, and he points it out to whoever it is. Like, if it's the ref's fault, if it's Matip, if it's Andy, he's screaming at them, telling them, no, I didn't do anything wrong. This is on you. He just is able to be a part of the game and know every single thing before it's about to happen, to the point where it looks like he doesn't care at all. He's just gliding around the pitch effortlessly, not really caring what he's doing, and then he goes out and he scores. He has an assist, and he has 90% passing accuracy every single game. He's got 100% aerial duels every single game. It doesn't matter who you put him against. He will be the one that comes out on top.
Yeah, there was a stat that did the rounds, I guess probably a week or so ago, that it's been over a year in the Premier League since someone has gone at him, like dribbled at him, and gotten past him successfully. No one has completed a dribble past Virgil van Dijk in over a year in the Premier League. That's just insane. And it's insane, not just for any defender, but for a Liverpool defender to be doing that.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long since we've had good defenders. I
did have a conversation with someone today, and I wanted to bring it up. So we have Matip out there, and a year ago, we would have been like, please do not put him out there. He makes Matip look incredible, But Lovren goes out there. For some reason, when Matip was next to Lovren, he was terrible, and we would prefer Lovren. But when it's Lovren next to Van Dijk, you're still kind of like, I don't know. Like, let's put in Matip.
Yeah.
Which is a huge change in the way that we saw it, before last January when we signed Van Dijk. So it really just shows how he can, bring players together and really elevate them to a point where, today Matip was probably third or fourth best player out on the pitch.
Today and the past month or so, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like
He's the best dribbler on the team.
in the world.
Yes, in the world. I had to get up, listeners, for just a second because you can hear my daughter in the background. But I don't know if you said this, Andrew, but I think even if Gomez is fit right now, it's Matip's spot to lose. I don't think you mess it. Don't touch it. Just let him play. At this point, I don't know. He's just on such good form. I think long term he's not worth much, but right now he's great.
Yeah, I mean, long term he could definitely be backup. I think once Gomez gets back to full fitness. But yeah, you're right. They're playing so well together, and they've got such a good rapport. And like I mentioned earlier, especially with the midfielders in front of them, that you can't really break that up, especially coming into the nitty gritty of the season. And yeah, we're in the quarterfinals yet again. A few teams to choose from, but if you had to give like a best case scenario and a worst case scenario for who we draw, Will, who would that be for you?
Well, it's got to be Porto, right? You have to look at the other 7 teams and think, okay, if we're gonna just spank anybody, it's going to be Porto, but. I do love a good Champions League draw. Like this tie with Bayern was real fun for me. Even though the games we kind of played like crap in the first half and the first leg was a 0-0. It's still really cool to play Bayern, right? It's fun. Like last season we played Roma, we played City. Those are fun games, and we played Madrid. Okay, those are fun. So part of me wants to be oh yeah, let's get United. I don't want any part of Juve right now, but let's get Barcelona. Let's get somebody fun. But Porto all day long. Maybe I don't even know if I want Ajax right now. Just give me Porto.
So that'd be your best case. What's your worst case scenario? Would be Juve.
City. No, worst. I think worst case is City. I do right now. I don't. I think we don't have to play them again, and so we're playing this. We're playing their points total every week. Basically we're not playing them. But I feel like if we actually drew them and had to play them and lost somehow, it could be demoralizing. It could just kind of make the hill that much higher to climb in our players' minds. I don't really want any part of City. I don't want any part of Juve either. But I mean, I'd rather have them than City right now.
Andrew, same question. Who's your best draw? Who's your worst draw for the quarterfinals?
I mean, again, Porto in terms of getting through, yes, but in excitement, I mean, give me City. Give me City.
Yeah, I like it.
Let's murder them.
I kind of want. I feel that way about United. Let's freaking do it.
Yeah, I'm the same way about United too. It's but with City, it's beat them and they're done. You have them in Champions League, and then you beat them, and they're just over it, and they're sad and mad, and the league, it feels could fall apart, and it's Liverpool's to take. But at the same time, if we could play Man United over 2 legs and play them with that team that they have now when they've kind of been figured out a little bit, and we should have had them at Old Trafford, I think we could demolish them. We, as in Liverpool, because I'm on the team.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Porto would definitely be the best case. I mean, we crushed them last year, and they're the worst team left. I mean, they're still a very solid team, and it's a tough place to go. But I feel like they match us well. I hate in European competitions when teams from the same country are drawn together. I feel like that's just not as exciting. It's kind of lame. So I don't want any of the English teams. But I think my worst case scenario would be Juve, because not only are they a very good team with a very good manager, but they have Ronaldo, and make what you will of him as a person, as a player, as a personality, but he just scores goals in the Champions League. and he knocks teams out of the Champions League, and I don't want that. So yeah, would definitely like to avoid them. I'd kind of like to get Barcelona. I would love to knock all of our ex-players out of the Champions League, especially Coutinho. I would love to see that. And they're not as good this season. So, I mean, yes, of course they have Messi. Of course they beat Lyon 5-1 today. But we can do them. We could do them.
It would be really fun to see Ronaldo in an aerial duel with Van Dijk. Because they're both really good in the air. Oh, Ronaldo scores a lot of headed goals.
Yeah.
It would be really fun to watch Van Dijk just put him on his ass a bunch. It would be fun. Barca would be cool. I think we could handle them. Ajax, they're coming off a high, but we could beat them. I'm just thinking, Tottenham, yeah, we could do it. It's really City, United, and Juve that I just don't really want to deal with right now. Like, I kind of feel like by the time this round of fixtures comes around, we might know a little bit more about the league, and I don't want to mess that up. And I feel like that's a crucial time. And I'd rather let's just get a fixture that we can win and move on.
Speaking of the league, this weekend we've got a team who shares a lot in common with Bayern's result today in that they lose a lot. We're playing Fulham this weekend on Sunday. So they, just be frank, they suck. Like they're just not good. And as much as it pains us all to say it as American soccer fans, Tim Ream might have a great shout for the worst player in the Premier League this season. So I just felt obliged to bring that up because I feel bad for him, but he's been awful. Andrew, how are you feeling going into this game? They got a caretaker manager. They did push Chelsea to the limit a little bit. Are you at all worried?
No. I mean, like, you listen to what you just said.
But listen to all of us as fans over the past several years. This was the 08-09 game that screwed us.
Listen.
This is like Norwich. This is a team that is so bad that you don't have to worry about it. There's nothing there. Like, I mean, Mitrovic has scored, 10 goals?
Like 3 goals.
No, I think like 10. Like, he's pretty decent. I mean, but... And looking at their roster at the beginning of the year, I was like, yeah, they're going to be pretty good. Like, they could definitely stay up, and they definitely won't. They're not. They're like 13 points out of 17th place. They're just not going to stay up. They're done. They're gone. Send them home. Garbage. We're going to beat them 4-0. That's confidence.
I will. Are you feeling as confident?
Yeah, Craven Cottage hadn't been the same since Deuce left. If I'm being honest, like it's going to be bad for Fulham. I think coming off of this Bayern game, they're going to have a bad time, and I think we win handily. Maybe not in a scoreline sense of the word because we tend not to do that against teams that we should. But I feel like it's a 2-1 easily.
Yeah, they're not
like
good.
Like a 2-1 that should be like a 5-0.
Yeah, we do have some trouble converting shots periodically, so that could very well be the case. I mean, they suck. We're good. Even if we rotate, which I feel like we're going to have to do at some point, this would be a perfect match to rotate. Maybe we even see Moreno because Moreno might have to play in the first match of the Champions League, and he hasn't played in 80 years. So we might need to get him some time, or we play Milner at left back just to get him used to playing there because we won't have Robbo. But, yeah, I think we win like 17, 18, nothing. It's bad. They immediately relegate themselves. They just don't finish the season. I just want to see us crush them. We've got so much momentum going, and we need a big win again just for our mentality's sake. Get Mane a bunch of goals. I'll captain him in fantasy. I'll take the lead back in the league. It'll be a great time. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, anything else? Anything else?
It's going to be Mo coming back. Mo's going to score a couple here.
I really do hope so.
You saw he really wanted it today. You could tell, especially from, 2 separate times where there was a wide open pass to score a goal, and he just took it on himself. One of them was an obvious penalty, but I think he wants it, and I think this is the week he's going to score a couple.
I think it's worth saying that if we beat Fulham, we'll go into the international break on top of the league because the cup is this weekend. So please beat Fulham, gentlemen. Please beat Fulham.
Do it.
You're listening.
Worth noting, Craven Cottage not named after temporary podcast host Joseph Craven. But yeah,
Wait, what?
It's not his cottage. It's
I
not
didn't
he's
know.
vacationing.
What are we missing? There was something we were going to talk about next week. If I wasn't going to make it till next week.
Oh yeah, we were going to talk about Blake Bortles leaving the Jaguars.
We need to wait until he's signed somewhere.
Yeah, I want to put Zach's on the pod because Zach is a diehard Bortlite.
Yeah, the boat.
Yeah, the best of all time.
Oh, gosh.
Blake, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on an episode to talk about your future.
He's probably listening. He's not doing anything.
No.
And he doesn't have a team, so what else is he going to be doing?
You know, he doesn't even like to fly, so he drives all the games that he goes to. He's just a chill dude.
All right, tweet at us at YNCA Podcast your opinions on Blake Bortles. Where do you think he's going to end up? Do you think he's going to be a starter? Do you think he's going to ride the bench? I mean, the 49ers need a quarterback. Maybe he ends up there. Tweet at us your opinions on the game. Shout out to Harry Dixon for predicting that we would score off a set piece this week. Yeah, we bow to your expertise. And, up the Reds, on to the last 8. Let's beat Fulham.